Okay, I'm back. So I'm gonna make this quick because it's fastly approaching nighttime here, and I need to go get something to eat. But I'm gonna wait for a few people to come on, and then I'll start. I'm only gonna be able to do about 15 or 20 minutes. So let me know who's on when you come on, and we'll start. I want to just take some random questions. I had a few sisters asking questions, so I wanted to try to answer them as best as I can. Hey Elaine, is the sound quality good? Is the video quality okay? It's almost dark here, so I'm trying to do this video in the next 15 to 20 minutes so that although I have power, you know. Okay, so one of the questions that I saw was about schools in Ghana. So schools in Ghana is it's kind of one of those things where you kind of have to ask around as far as the area that you're in to see, you know, which schools are the best. So we have local schools, you have private schools, you have international private schools. So you can have your kids go to an American school if you like. They can go to a local school if you like. My children went to local private school. We went to the first school that my teenager went to was Blessed Academy in Dansuman. And the more I talk, the louder my baby's gonna get. So let me try to go outside because my battery low too, y'all. So, oh, the lighting is better out here anyway. So the best thing to do is to try and ask around. As I was saying, my teenager went to Blessed Academy, the first school she went to. It was a really good school. The only reason she left the school is me and the head mistress fell out. But, and I abruptly removed her from the school. But other than that, it was a really good school. It was a Christian school. Most of the schools in Ghana will have some sort of religious background to it. A lot of them are Christian schools. So it's really up to you. And the prices vary because of what kind of school it is. So you can expect to pay more for international and American schools. Some of the Ghana private schools are expensive. It depends on what your budget is. So you just kind of have to look around. Like, we found one of the schools that I wanted my daughter to go to was Alpha Beta, which is in Dansuman, is supposedly one of the better schools in the area, but they wanted like $1,500 a semester, and that wasn't even counting the uniforms and stuff. That was just the tuition. So although for American standards that's not expensive, but for Ghana standards that's very expensive. So Blessed Academy, I think we paid like $750 or 800 CDs per semester, plus the uniforms. And my daughter, she ate food at school or whatever, so we didn't have to send lunch or whatever. She did pretty well. So yeah, you just have to look and see what is in the area. Like I would say that when you're looking to rent a place, buy a place, or buy your land, that you should look at the schools in the area to see what the quality of the schools are. My daughter, her school had a bus, and they had a boarding house. She did not board, but a lot of her friends did, and she would stay at the boarding house later in the evening for studying. So her days were very long. She would leave the house at like 6 in the morning and wouldn't get home until like 8 at night. She wasn't okay with it at first. Then she got okay with it because she made friends, of course. And then I really wasn't okay with it. Then me and the headmistress, we fell out. I snatched her out of school, and then she started going to school closer by our house where we were renting. That school was a pretty decent school, and we paid half the price that we were paying at Blessed Academy. I see Elaine is saying that she wants clean bathrooms. So the bathroom situation is something that you would just have to go and check out. Because it's kind of like what you may call clean and what they may call clean could be two totally different things. Saida. Excuse me, y'all. See, so you would have, when I did my tours of the schools, the bathroom was important to me also. The bathroom and the eating area. So I would check those things out and make sure they were at least to a decent standard. So yeah, you have to just go and do a tour and see if it's up to your standards as far as the bathrooms being clean or whatever. One thing about schools in Ghana that you have to check out is, I know a lot of us are against caning. Caning is basically spanking. So a lot of the schools in Ghana still cane. What I found with my daughter was that she never told me when she got caned, because the two schools that she was at, you only got caned if you weren't doing what you were supposed to be doing. So she was kind of like, I think she was kind of like, damn, if I tell mama I got caned, then she gonna find out I didn't do something, and then I'm gonna get in trouble again. So she was willing to just take her first punishment at school, which obviously she wasn't really, it really didn't bother her, because she didn't get caned unless she didn't have her homework, or it had to be some rule that she broke. So that's another thing that you would have to look into and see, because some of the schools cane, some of the schools don't cane. So I see Elaine say caning. Yes, caning. So caning is basically like they take a dried up sugar cane, not the big one. It's a little small sugar cane that a lot of the teachers have, and they pop the kids with them. I did have to. There was one time my daughter was actually sharing with my mom when she would get caned, but she wouldn't tell me. But so there was one time where my daughter was kind of like or our children, I would say, would be a lot of our children are kind of like really revolutionary when it comes to being in school in Ghana. So I had to kind of step in at one point and let them know, you don't get to cane my kid because she has an opinion. Because my kid was the kid that would challenge. She's a challenging type of child. She's like me. She asks questions, and if she knows something, she's gonna say something. So there was one time where they were in RME, which is religious and moral education, and they were talking about Jesus, and the teacher referred to Jesus as white. And my children are taught that Jesus is not white. So that became a big conversation in the classroom, because my daughter was like, why would you be telling these people that Jesus is white? If you even just know geography, you know that Jesus wasn't white. So like, I mean, she didn't get caned for it, but the teacher took her to the head mistress and was like, this kid is challenging me. And the head mistress had to tell him that she was right. So she was kind of like a champion for the children. We never cut her hair. She wore her hair natural, and sometimes she wore braids. But most of the girls in Ghana cut their hair short. That is changing, though. That is changing very fast, where girls are not having to cut their hair. But I've seen some misunderstanding. Well, what I would say would be misunderstandings about the girls having to cut their hair. And from my understanding, from what the girls have said to my daughter, is that it's easier for them to cut their hair because they don't really have money. Like, a lot of their parents are spending all of their money to send them to school. So keeping up hair and all of that stuff could be another cost that they're trying to keep down. Also is to keep the kids from being distracted by hair or whatever. So, we've had a few times where Kenesha had to kind of tone it down with her hair, because she has a big fro, and sometimes she would just wear a big fro, and it was distracting because many of the other girls don't have hair at all. So but it became a teaching moment for, I think, the entire school. So it was good and bad. What was the other thing that I saw somebody asked about? Because I'm going to have to try to make it quick. The building. Elaine, you asked about building a 4-bedroom, 2,400 square foot. It was very specific, which is really good that you have those kinds of specifics. But I would say to you that I can't answer that question, mainly because the price of materials in Ghana changes often. And when you're building, like for instance, when we started building, buying cement was, at one point it was like 26 cedis per bag. Then it went all the way up to, at some point it was like 36 cedis per bag. Then buying a truck of sand, when we first started, it was like 500 cedis per trip. Now I think it's like 1,500 cedis per trip. So it's really hard to give a good idea of how much building costs when you're building from the ground, like you're just building on your own. Now, there are agents and people who build, and they may be able to give you better estimates. I would suggest you find someone who is recommended by another sister, someone you trust, someone you know who's built before, because there's a lot of steps in building that most of us haven't built a house before. So you have to you just don't just start building a house. You have to know it's a lot of things that can change. Like for instance, with my building, we were anticipating spending like 10,000 cedis on our foundation. We ended up spending like 30,000 cedis on our foundation. Why? Because once they started to dig for our foundation, we quickly hit water. So we needed to reinforce the foundation much stronger on the back side of our house than we thought we would. So we ended up spending 3 times the amount of money in the foundation than we anticipated. And then if you're building and you're not there, you have to deal with the fact that you don't know. Like, I would say, this is what I would say. If you plan on building and you plan on you don't want to rent, you're going to have to visit Ghana often or build when you're visiting. I wouldn't, unless you have someone there that you can trust, that you can send the money to, and you know that they'll make sure that your building is being done correctly, then that's something that you could do. But I don't know anybody that I can do that with. Also, with building, bricks are something that the cement blocks that you use to build your house, they vary in price. So you can get cement blocks you can get them already made, or you can do like what we did. Was we had our masons, we had the brick builder to actually come and build the bricks at our place, so that my husband could watch and see what the sand to cement ratio was that was going into the blocks. So for instance, you can get up to like 60 blocks out of one bag of cement. But are those blocks going to last you the test of time? We for our bags of cement, we did 30 blocks per bag, which means that our cement to sand to gravel ratio was much higher in cement than it was sand. So you need to, those are things that you have to know. You know, I know a lot of people make it sound like it's just easy to just move to Ghana, buy land, and build a house. It's not as simple as they make it seem. I mean, yeah, you could go build a house. If you got the money, you can have a house built in a couple of months. That's not a problem. The problem is making sure that you're getting quality material and knowing that the price of things changes drastically. So if you're like me, I watch the exchange rate often because it's something that affects us all the time. So I watch the exchange rate all the time. So from when we moved to Ghana in 2014, when we moved, the exchange rate was 2.5. When we started building, it was like 2.8. So our money was going much further than it does now, where the exchange rate is, well, we would think the money was going much further, but what happens is, although the exchange rate is higher now, so it feels like we get much more money for our dollar in Ghana, what happens is the price of things increase. So it causes inflation in the markets. So that's why I'm not one of those people who are interested in giving people and saying, oh, you can build a house in Ghana for $20,000, for $40,000. Yeah, you might be able to do that right now. But what's going to happen when in a year you've planned for spending $40,000 to build your house, and now it's $50,000, or now it's $60,000? So I would suggest that anyone planning to build, that you first, like what we did, we built our boys' quarters first. First, we started with the main building, and that was just taking, it was so frustrating. It was so much going on, whatever. So we ended up going ahead and building our boys' quarters first, which in American terms, that's like the guest house. So we built our guest house. We went on and completed the guest house. At least that way, when we're in Ghana, we have somewhere to stay and we don't have to pay rent. So we have our, my husband built like a studio. It's like a studio apartment. It has a kitchen, has a living room. It has a space to just like for the bedroom. But it's what we call a studio. It's a pretty open space with a kitchen on the outside. So I would say build a small room. If you're if you don't want to rent, you can build you a small space first, which would later on be your either guest house or boys' quarters. And you can use that for when you're coming back and forth building. That way you don't have to rent. My husband was able to build our boys' quarters in like a few weeks versus a much longer time. So to me, that was a better way to go about the building process. I wish we would have thought of that initially, but we didn't. You live and you learn and you move on, and that's why I'm here to talk with you guys, to tell you where I made my mistakes, or where we made our mistakes, and where you could probably, if you choose to do something different, that's up to you. But I would say build a small room. So, what else? I know someone asked about schools in the central region. The schools in the central region, I would say the same thing for if you were... Okay, stay right there. I would say the same thing for if you're living in Accra. You just need to look at... you need to look at the schools around the area that you're going to be living. And talk to people. Talk to people who know. Because people know what's a good school and what's not. Well, our boys' quarters, it only took him... Well, he had already started it. So I would say it took about... In total, it took about 3 weeks. It only took like 3 weeks because it's only like a room. It's like a studio. So it's only like a one room with a kitchen, a bathroom. That's it. So, but of course he had to make it to our standards. He made sure we had AC and fans and all of that stuff. But all of the things that he put into our boys' quarters was stuff that we had from our rental. Because when we rented okay, I think I'm back. There was another question that I wanted to answer. Dang it. I can't remember the question. But I'll continue to say, like, stop it. I think building, if we would have built the small room first, it probably would have saved us a lot in the long run. Because not being there, we had materials was stolen. You know, things happen. I think me and Della talked about this before. You have to have a lot of patience when it comes to building. So you just be patient. Be very patient when it comes to building. But building a small room on your place would be a better, doing that and building the wall. If you build your wall and a little room to maintain you while you're there, I think that would be the best course of action. What other? Dang it, it was another question that was asked. I can't remember what it was. I'm sorry. If there were any other questions, Elaine, that you remember, please put it in the comments so I can answer it. Stop it. One thing I would suggest if you're gonna build in Ghana is start to plant your food trees. That should be like one of the first things you do is plant your food trees. Yeah, I agree. Renting is kind of wasteful, but when you don't know a place, I mean, it's really not wasteful. It's like for us, we rented. My husband is Ghanaian, as you know. We rented the first 2 years, and we did that because we wanted to find exactly where we wanted to build. Even though we already had our land, we wasn't sure if we wanted to build on that land or if we wanted to buy some other land. And also we were in the midst of setting our businesses up. And, you know, Ghana is, being in Africa, period, is not going to be a easy, it's not just going to be jump in and do things. You have to kind of learn how they do things. Unless you are a builder yourself, you're a contractor yourself, it's a lot to learn about even just having a house built. Like, it's so much that comes into play. It's so much that you have to think about and that you have to take into your thinking as you're building. So I personally wouldn't suggest nobody just jump up, buy some land, and start building. I mean, you need to know that that's an area that you really want to be in. Like, for instance, our place where we started building, okay, I'm going to have to cut this off short because my little one is getting crazy. Of course, she wants me now, but wasn't even thinking about me when I wasn't talking. So, play with that. So the area that we're building in, my husband, when he bought the land, he knew that it was going to be a road would be put there. But we didn't know that it would end up being a high traffic area. We didn't know that it would end up being like, so I'm sorry, y'all, I lost my connection. But we didn't know that our area would start being more industrial until my husband, we were in the U.S. and my husband went back to do some work on the place. And when he came back, he was like, babe, I don't think you would want to live there. We should change the plan. And he's like, their day is starting at like 3-4 o'clock in the morning because it's a more industrial area. It's becoming a more industrial type area. And I'm like, oh no, I have to sleep in when I'm in Ghana. Although I get up early, I'm not getting up till like 6 in the morning. So, and I'm not a morning person. So to be waking up, I would not